Hey guys, so today was another just brutal day of trading. It seems like the new theme that we have here is we have about an hour to maybe an hour and a half of some pretty decent volatility and movement. Today that was a choppy day, but if you go back to like yesterday, you can see that was a nice upward move. About 10:30, 10:45 is when the moves are kind of ending. You can see the same thing here, up 10:30, 10:45 we stopped. And then we're just left with these extremely choppy days. So like today, for instance, from pretty much here at 11:30 when we closed our candle until we closed this candle over it, we had held from here at 411.77 down to 411.43, about a 33-cent range for 2 hours of closing candles. So that means all we did was basically just chop around. Very, very, very frustrating day for me. I definitely had some drawdown today, but in the end, it was a great week. So let's move over to the daily here. If we take a look at the daily, I have two major patterns I'm watching. Now, the first one is the obvious cup and handle that we have been watching for a while here. Basically with this, we are assuming that this is our top right here, which matches up with the top of February. And then we're going to form our handle, which we are starting, and you can see with this kind of carrot top we have here, starting to do that. Target for this realistically is right around here at 404.3 to 405.3. We had about a $35 move up, so you should expect about a $10 to $12 drop. So if we have a high of 415, that should put us right around that, 402 to 405 range. Now, the other pattern I'm seeing here is, you could call it a big M. To me, it more looks like an inverted head and shoulder. However, most people say the head is supposed to be lower than the shoulders. But either way, we have a nice neckline right here at this 415 level. And if this plays out, then we actually have a more major downside target of right around here at this like 378 to 384 range. So that'll be interesting to see if that plays out. This would be more of a bearish, obviously momentum picking up in the markets. But we'll be interested to see what happens. So one thing that did happen today is that we actually did establish a new supply. So our new supply, I guess I didn't take this supply out on my trading view yesterday, but we now have a new supply right here at 412. So with this new supply at 412, we are going to have kind of an interesting movement because we established the supply once again below price action. That's what also happened back here. So if we establish this supply here, then we should assume we're going to go lower because you usually do a supply and then a demand. However, we could still bump up. So basically our major downside level is 409.68 and our upside level is right here at 414.11. Now on a weekly time frame, I am far more bearish, and here's why. So we actually managed to establish a 412.6 double top doji supply top. So basically what that means is we had not only a double top on the weekly right here at this 412.6, we had a doji reversal candle, and we established a new supply, which is a top, and especially on a weekly time frame is important. So our target remains 410.1. And then from there, we're going to start looking at downside. Now, what's interesting about the weekly supply and demand is we have a massive gap. So we basically have this 410.1 all the way down to 382.3. Now, the big difference here is the fact that we now should expect neutral to bearish movement until we get a new demand. So basically for me, I am bearish, and I have been, and I'm still in my 91 DTE puts. They're down, looks like about 10.1% here at market close today. But we should look for downside, and I will play my puts until we get a new weekly demand established. One thing to be interesting that is interesting here on the weekly, every pretty much top has been a doji, a doji, a doji, a doji, and now we're getting another doji. So the trend would suggest that this is our temporary top, and now we're about to go into some pretty good drawdown. Now, whether that happens or not, it'll be interesting to see. With earnings not going super well this week for Tesla, on ASML, and who else reported big this week? Netflix. Next week we got Google, Amazon, Meta. We got some big names. Snapchat's coming too. We could definitely see some drawdown in the markets if those earnings continue not to come in super hot. Take a look at futures here now. While I am bearish longer term, I will say temporarily for Monday, I actually am bullish on futures, and here's why. So we had this massive carrot top right here. We came down, we established our supply at 41.77. We're coming down, we lost the daily AEMA, but now we're making a really nice double bottom here and basically forming a nice evening or morning doji star reversal to the upside. So with this doji right here, now we did not retake the AEMA. We should expect a push up, which would target right around here at 41.73. Now, the one thing to keep in mind here is that we did not take the AEMA back. So until the AEMA comes back, the upside is more risky than the downside. One other thing to keep in mind here, and I'll go back to SPY real quick, is that if we look at total movement right here, we have a total about $9 over the last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 trading days. The last 15 trading days has basically all taken place within a $9 range. If you come over to futures here, it's the same thing. We have a very tight range right here all the way up to here. And I'm just doing the closes, mind you. So about a 66 point move over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 trading days. That is an extremely tight range. So we are building, and the move, whichever way we go, I do expect to be pretty explosive. Now, going over the weekly time frame here, while on SPY, we did get a weekly double top, and it also perfectly double topped off with the January 30th weekly. On futures, because we had that higher close last week, we actually, and this mostly is related to the contracts always moving on futures, we did not quite get the same weekly double top over here, but you can see right here from September, this 41.75, this provided extremely nice resistance, and we actually put in a new weekly supply here at 41.77. So basically what I'm seeing here over the last 2 weeks, we have strong support at 41.37, and you could probably even go all the way down here to 41.25, and now we have 41.75 as resistance. So realistically, we should target about a 50-point range, and once we move that 50-point range, we should get a bigger breakout. For me here, with this weekly supply being put in, our next demand, and actually we do have a weekly supply. I don't have it on here though. I believe it's right around here at 40.55. I need to make sure I update that Monday. I forgot about that. But we do have a weekly supply in this area down here. So our target should be to the downside. And from there, then we have our previous demand right here about 39.20, which is the major pivot point. One other major thing to keep in mind here is that over the last over a year of trading now, this goes all the way back to April 25th now, at most, SPY and futures has only closed 4 weekly candles in a row over 40.95 or on SPY 407.3. So we are officially at our 4th week here, so that we could see a potential pretty good downside move next week with a target of closing under 40.95 and under 407.3 on SPY. Now, we are in an upwards bull channel, as you can see here, and we did have last week a rising wedge pattern right here that you can see we have officially broken the rising wedge and put in a reversal doji candle here. So the downside is the favor here. So my favoritism goes that we're going to retest minimally 40.95 next week and maybe even target somewhere in this 40.50 area down here. And on SPY, it's the same thing. We had this massive weekly rising wedge right here, and we have officially broken that. So with this breaking, our target should be minimally 407.3, but realistically, I'm looking for about 404.1. Then we go over to the VIX. So I'm going to zoom out just a little bit here, if you look at the VIX here, this is the low of August 12th. We hit the same line on February 2nd, and then we actually this week on April 19th bounced off the same line. We're attempting to put in a little V bottom here, and it actually looked kind of promising yesterday and maybe a little bit today, but we continue to see the VIX unwind. So the question remains, one, can we trust the VIX? Two, why does the VIX every day, regardless of what the market does? Because you can see here, the VIX has had one, let's see, two, three green days since March 24th. So that means only 3 days, only 3 days in the last basically month of trading, the VIX has closed green. Now let's look at SPY. How many green days do you see here? You see since March 24th, which is right here, you see plenty of green days and you see plenty of red days. So now generally speaking, when the VIX drops, the market should go up. When the VIX goes up, the market should go down in general. However, if the market is in consensus of direction, we saw this a lot in 2022, you don't always have that inverse relationship. So you can have the market going down and the VIX unwinding because the market agrees that's the direction it's supposed to go. But my point being here is that there's definitely a detachment from reality. So we're either about to see a massive move up in the VIX and everything's going to just kind of break loose and we're going to see some sort of massive meltdown on SPY, or we're just going to see the VIX kind of become basically white noise and unimportant. So one interesting thing is that officially Monday it's going live. They're going to start something called the VIX 1D. Now, if you look, they have something called the VIX 9D, which is a 9-day volatility index. So basically, they're starting the same thing, but it's going to be a 1-day volatility index. And what that's going to measure, from my understanding, is the 0 to 1 DTE contracts that are traded. So it's basically going to be a very, very short-term VIX. I think this is going to be very interesting to watch, and I will definitely be keeping an eye on it every single day, and I will start including it in my charting. Because basically, if we can watch what the VIX is doing, and there's many, many times, and if you go back to even 2022, I would say probably before September, the VIX was very, very strong. The VIX was very strong to trade. I could pretty much at times look at the VIX and make a trade on SPY based on what the VIX was doing. And the VIX used to be a major part of my not only my scalping strategy, but just my trades. Like I would never take a trade outside of the direction of the VIX. And in addition to that, I used to trade the VIX a lot and UVXY a lot just because they were so, I wouldn't say easy, but so consistent, and it made sense to trade them and what they were doing. Now, obviously, since 0 DTD every day, that has changed and probably will change forever. And there's a very low chance we'll ever get back to a time period, I think, when the VIX goes back to reality. So now that we have this VIX 1 DTE, I'm going to be very interested actually to see if we can track that 1 DT index the same way that we used to chart the VIX and trade SPY with the VIX. Now, mind you, like the 9 DTE volatility index, you cannot trade it. They might change that someday because you know how they like to throw more things for us to trade out there and more people retail to spend money on things. But as of right now, there is no trading the 1DT or the VIX 1D. So, but I'm very interested to see where it goes next week. Looking at the dollar here, the dollar was bouncing, but we're kind of in the same thing, a nice consolidation area here, really realistically from 101.58 to this 102.119. This is a major level right here. In the 10-year, same thing. We had a big breakout, but now we're just kind of hanging out. We're kind of holding this support right here. Let me move that one. We're kind of holding this support right here at 3.529 3.531%, and we can't quite get through the wall at 3.604%. Now, one interesting thing that I see, and it's still happening, is Bitcoin is getting absolutely slaughtered. Now, again, there used to be a time where I could look at Bitcoin and see that Bitcoin was going on a massive dive like this or a massive move up. And I knew within the next week, the market was going to do the exact same thing. Now, that time period has not really happened for quite a long time. But there are times where I still like to watch the VIX and I still look at it almost every single, or the Bitcoin, I mean, almost every single day, because it does give us a hint. With this risk, which I see Bitcoin as a risk asset, a high risk, high reward asset, coming off the markets because price is going down, people are selling, nobody's buying anymore, especially after we kind of hit this top at the 30.5 thousand range, or 30.5K range. This could be a very big hint that we are going to get this weekly top and see this downside move. So I do like watching Bitcoin for that reason. All right, guys, I hope you have a good weekend. It was a rough day trading today, but we ended up putting in a really, really good week. This was my most profitable week of the month and my best week since the beginning of March. So definitely a great week. I look forward to trading with you guys on Monday.